actual pieces of flour and pieces of nug in this, so it's not ground up, it's not broken up, it's no shaker nonsense like that. It's just you can even see like it's a little lumpy, bro. The lumpage is crazy. So hand rolled, full nugs. It's one of the crazier pre-rolls that I've ever seen. So I don't even know if it's focused or not, but you already know what time it is, man. Let's get. Oh my god, do I not have a lighter? There's no way, bro. Oh, I have one right there. Jesus. These are a little tough to spark. I wish I had like a mini torch on me. But as you can see, by the full nugs and just by the way it's rolled and everything, it might not be the best slow-mo in the world, but we're gonna try, baby. Cheers. Okay. Never mind. Maybe the slow-mo worked a little bit better than I thought. This is gonna be crazy, bro. My first hotbox in this thing. Hang on. I got a little bit of Kento stuff in here. I'm gonna drag it out before some bad stuff happens. There's something about there's something that's so cool about the still air, you know? You just do whatever tricks you want. I love these things, man. These things smoke, man. My tolerance is pretty fucking nuts, by the way. People always ask me about my tolerance, man. I'm like 4 puffs in, and I'm feeling good. Like, I'm feeling good. I'm not saying I could stop right now and be like, woo, but like, I'll take like, you know, I could take 10 more puffs, put this out, and I'll be chilling. But I could also like smoke 5 of these to my face right now. It's like a weird thing. I wouldn't pass out. There's like a cap to how high I can get. And keep smoking like one blunt is so fucking high, or one El Blunto. These are joints, by the way. It's like a baked paper or whatever. No tobacco, no nonsense in this thing. But I could, you know what I mean? I feel like I just get really high and then just kind of stay at like a 7 out of 10. Like, it takes so much for me to get to like an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, or like, God forbid, I'm getting 10 out of 10 high. The most recent time I've been 10 out of 10 high is when I took that fucking 2-gram dab or whatever it was a couple days ago. Not a couple days ago, like a week or 2 ago. You see the video, bro. It's fucking insane. Check this little bad boy out, by the way. It's a little dirty right now. Mercedes-Benz cup holder ashtray. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. You ever heard of anything so perfect? It's like really easy to take out and clean and everything too. It's a move. I also got these little coasters, man. Let's go. So you're probably asking, Eric, didn't you just have like another car like 10 fucking minutes ago? The answer is yes. I did have another car at the beginning of this year. I had an AMG GTS. It was super fucking sick. It was awesome. Within like a month of having it, I've explained it on the second channel, which I'm going to turn into like this super sick car channel. So if you're into car content, go over there. But I have a whole longer video explaining it and everything. But long story short, got into a car accident. Wasn't necessarily my fault. Went in to repair it at multiple shops, at like multiple dealerships, at multiple like authorized Mercedes-Benz workshops, because I heard the dealerships hoe you, which they kind of do. And they were all either telling me something different or telling me it's unfixable, and one of them told me that nothing was wrong at all. So I was like, this is fucked. Like, this is just a headache. Like, I mean, it's super fun to drive. It's an amazing car. It's like what I've worked for years and years, but it's like, it's not worth the headache. Like, fuck it, bro. Sold it to a car dealership. It's so weird how I'm still sketched out by it. Like, I'm just like 22 years of living in Texas and several years of smoking weed has just got me like hardwired. Like, when I see someone, I realize this is completely legal. They can't do shit about it. Like, it's probably normal. Like, they probably see it all the time, bro. But when I see like a Karen looking woman like that normally, and if my car was in Texas right now, I'd be tweaking the fuck out. I'd turn the camera off, switch locations, drive over to somewhere else and shit. But damn, that's crazy. And I'm at like my own fucking car. Fuck you. I can do whatever I want. Anyway, car shit. Oh my god, I'm so high already. Okay. So I was like, this is a big ass headache. This is dumb as hell. I'm just gonna sell it. I did get lucky because the car market has been kind of crazy recently. I haven't really checked car prices in the past few months, but when I sold it, I got much more than I paid for. Not much more. Wasn't like an insane profit or anything, but I didn't lose money in the car, and I had a really good time with it. I made some profit on top of it. And it was just like a cool little car thing, I guess, that I had for just like a month and a half. But I had it much longer in the shop, which is the worst part. So I had the total car length ownership was like 7 months. I only had it for a month and a half driving it. All the rest of the time it was like in and out of the shop, trying to get like an alignment done or this done. Like, I had actual work done to it.
What's up?
Oh, it's a Fior pre-roll. I kind of like Fior. Fior makes some gas. Let's smoke this shit. You guys fuck with Fior? They make some decent little flower, man. I'm not gonna lie. Not even gonna lie.
Oh man, what flavor is that?
Oof, I don't remember. It's live resin though. It doesn't even taste like this. Who knows, man? Fuck you, cheers. This shit's smoking. I think this is distillate. I don't know. Fuck, is this hot dog water? Imagine. Shit's smoking so crazy. It does taste like apples though. I will say that the first thing that I get immediately is like green apples and shit. I'm getting like this weird hit in my chest though that I don't normally get. But it doesn't burn my. Wait, hang on. Let's see. This is the real distillate test right here. If I inhale it through my nostrils, if I can French inhale it, if it burns, it's distillate. If it doesn't, it's chill. I think this is distillate because it gives me like a slight little. It is clean distillate though. Like that's on par with like. I think that's on par with like Stizzy distillate, to be honest with you. Because there's very few. They're like raw garden distillate, very clean. Like there's certain distillates that you can like. There's a gun to my fucking head and it was like smoke it. I'd be like, okay, that's cool. Not bad, but I'm more excited for these ones now, man. These ones, I don't think. I mean, I'm sure these are on the black market. Like that's the thing with these. Those Chinamen work quick, man. You know how they have like fake Jordans before the Jordans actually even fucking come out? Like that's what it's getting like with these carts and stuff. In fact, I think I was talking with Peter from Plug and Play, like starter, like owner of Plug and Play and everything, and he said that he straight up can't post certain things that are gonna come out because people on like from China are watching it, like waiting for the newest thing, waiting for the newest company to drop their stuff so that they can just bam, like come out with it instantly in China so you can like, it's crazy. It's really like a crazy little world out there. So we have ourselves a little something. All these are very recently batched. They all have the batch number and everything on there, which is cool. That's something that, so all this is like required when you're a licensed brand, right? You don't need to have this on there when you're selling fucking to homie down the street. Like this doesn't matter, but this is another thing that why it costs so much when you become a legal brand, because you have to pay for testing and you have to pay to, you know, for samples, and you have to pay to like adhere to certain guidelines because maybe your shit didn't before, and you know what I mean? Like it's cool though. Like I guess it's all right. Let's see what we got in this bitch, man. What is this? The disposable? Okay, so this is the disposable. So we have like, they have pod systems right here, which is cool. So let's just jump into the disposable, man. What do we got? I like, bro, why do I kind of like their color scheme? This like vanilla cream with the little chief. Oh, it's got the wood tip. Nah, bro. Is this the hardest disposable in the game for like no reason? No, what? Why is Big Chief on top of this shit? This is hilarious. This is it's like the best card I've ever had or some shit. We'll see what's up. Cheers. What strain we got going on right here? Papaya. See, that's live resin for sure. Damn.
Going on for a little bit.
But it's good. It's a decent little hangover.
Well, like an hour. 30 minutes.
I've definitely had stronger
Yeah,
papaya
let
taste
me
out
know
there.
what
I'm
y'all
getting like
want me
slight
to-
fruity, like a slight
Yeah.
fruit sense, but nothing too strong. It's clean oil though. This is. I'm taking advantage of this fucking big ass spot that they put me in, but oh, the echo sucks in here. Maybe if we talk like this, it'll be a little. Just shield the. Hello, is it better? Oh, it is a little bit better actually. Not really though. Yeah, that fucking shower, that was lit as fuck. Let's get a blinker. Let's get a quick blinker for the. Honestly, I'm high as fuck. Like I'm what? I did not expect to be this high from just a cookie.
Fuck
Like
you.
just a few card rips.
Okay,
You know,
I ain't
I didn't
doing
smoke
that
any
shit.
before this.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck.
I think there's a bad echo right here too. I apologize,
I
but
don't respect you.
it's okay.
Why would
It's a
I
cool
respect
article
you
right
for that?
there. Any man will do. Just a little. That's a thought ass fucking poster right there. You see that? What do you mean any man will do? Hey,
What
cheers
do
to
you
that, though.
mean,
I
any
love
man
sluts.
will
No
do?
slut shaming. How can you slut shame? Like, I love
Like
this.
any man will do? Because if so,
Move
that's
on
a
to
fucking
bigger and
slutty
better
thing.
things, man. Woo! This one, I'm like kind of most excited.
It's like
about
me
this
saying
one.
any
So,
woman will
not
do.
only are these
Any.
pods and their little pods,
And when I mean any,
look at that.
I mean
Big Chief.
A
These are
and Y.
Liquid
Any.
Diamond live resin, apparently.
It's like
So they
saying
got
that.
Liquid Diamond pods. We got mango lemonade, which I'm particularly excited about, and
I got a fucking
Zanana.
headache from
Why are
this
these
fucking
kind of fire?
bullshit.
Like, why are these strains kind of gas? Let's see if they're actually. I have to push
Fuck,
it.
man. Fuck, man.
Oh, oh, shit! Is this USB-C? Oh my god, it's USB-C too. I'm mad impressed. But for some reason, this didn't come with a charger. Fuck it. Maybe it's. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I have USB-C. Who doesn't have USB-C at this point? But that is pretty crazy. They're just like, fuck you, get your own charger. All this stuff was relatively pretty. It was pretty good price too. We got all of this. Ooh, plus, hang on. Apparently they have Kush. You seen these? I've seen this on like Adam 22's like No Jumpers podcast. It's always in the background. But yeah, apparently they have flour. We'll have to break this open either like in another video or something like that. But Wagyu truffle and uzumaki. What? Well, we got 2 8s. This diamond pod or whatever, another diamond pod, that disposable, and this cart for $200 shipped to my house. See?
Wait, what? Dude, these are fucking weird ass fucking movies, bro. Thinking it's special pork? Oh my gosh. Mm. Oh my gosh. What the fuck?
The movie starts as two modern-looking black men in their fancy underwear are being sold off at an auction. They are chained by their necks, and it appears as if the place is a slave market. Following this, the movie goes back into a flashback where it all started. It revolves around two estranged half-brothers, Regis and Joel Grosdesier, from the West Indies, who lead completely different lives. Joel is a monoracial black man fresh out of prison after serving time for stealing an old woman's purse. Currently, he lives with his mother and his 9-year-old daughter. He is serially unemployed and blames racism for all his woes, especially his joblessness. However, he has never seriously tried to find work. On the other hand, Regis is a biracial man. He is married to a white woman and has a 9-year-old daughter with her. He lives in an affluent town and is well integrated into the upper class society. Regis is employed at the local town hall and works as an assistant to the mayor. One day, Regis receives a call from his uncle, informing him that his father is dying, and it is the old man's final wish to meet all his children. However, Regis pays no regard to his deadbeat father, as he was not around when Regis was a child. He then proceeds to have dinner with his family, but his crazy wife threatens to get laid with other men if he does not pay his father one last visit. She jumped to that specific threat awfully quickly. Left with no choice, he reluctantly agrees. The next day, Regis takes a flight to his hometown where his father resides.
What?
At the airport, he runs into Joel, who has also come to see their father. The brothers, who have been out of contact for more than a decade, put their differences aside and hire a taxi together. They catch up in the taxi on the way to their father's home. Regis tells Joel everything about his successful life, while the latter lies to cover up his failures out of embarrassment. Upon reaching their father's home, they are introduced to their aunt and several half-sisters. Turns out that their dad ventured throughout the world and had relations with countless women. This explains why Joel and Regis have different skin colors. The old man's eyes light up when he sees his only two sons before him. Before dying, he tells Regis and Joel that they will inherit a great treasure. This excites the brothers, and they eagerly wait to hear about the treasure. However, to their dismay, all they receive as inheritance is the document of emancipation of their ancestors. This document was handed over to a few slaves by their owners for some extraordinary work or act. Apparently, Regis and Joel's ancestors were granted freedom long before slavery slavery was legally abolished in the West Indies. However, not concerned about the symbolic value of this piece of paper, they scoff at the inheritance. They then derisively tear the paper up under the disapproving eye of their late father's sister. As expected, this enrages the old woman, so she decides to teach the brats a lesson. She casts a voodoo spell on them and sends them back to the 17th century, where slavery is still prevalent. In the next scene, when Regis and Joel wake up, they find themselves stripped down to their designer underwear in an open field. As the two wonder about what happened, a couple of terrified black people run past them. Just then, 2 slave hunters also arrive and capture the Gros de Cire brothers. They are then taken to a slave market and sold to Monsieur Jourdain, a landowner. Jourdain entrusts Joel to the farms, where he will work under the care of Henri, a brutal and deeply racist foreman, while Regis is sent to the kitchens of the residents. Soon, the half-brothers discover that they have actually time-traveled to 1780, when slavery was still a thing. The next day, the slaves are forced to listen to a priest who reads them a fake Bible about how black people should obey the whites. But since the Gros de Cire brothers are the only ones besides the whites who can read, they refuse to agree with the contents. Regis even surprises the priest by reading him a line from the book. Later in the day, Joel shows up late to the field and gets hit by Henri. Fed up with Henri's torture and behavior, Joel makes a run for it to escape the farm, but ends up hitting his head on a pole and knocking himself out. Due to his actions, he is scourged in front of everyone. That night, Regis is called to Monsieur Jourdain's office, where his ability to read is acknowledged. Jourdain praises him for being a smart slave, and gives him the privilege to control the other slaves with Henri. In the meantime, Joel is getting his wounds treated by a female slave, Rosalie. It has been only 5 minutes since they've met, but Joel has already started liking her. At an opportune moment, he leans in for a kiss. Only to get turned down. Rosalie then reveals that she is in love with a fellow slave named Isidore, much to Joel's disappointment. The next day, Regis carries out his new duty and starts ordering and commanding other slaves to do their work. Joel is shocked to see his brother acting like the whites and criticizes him for being selfish. However, Regis could care less, and he continues to be loyal to his new masters and reports his work throughout the day to Monsieur Jourdain. Eventually, everyone in the white household finds out about Regis's ability to read and starts mocking him. They also joke about whether or not he can play the piano. To everyone's surprise, Regis plays the piano beautifully. However, this results in him getting whipped severely by the whites. Finally fed up, Regis wants out, and the next morning, the 2 brothers flee the plantation by secretly hopping in the carriage of a Jewish man named Isaac. When they reach his place, Isaac approaches them and reveals that he knew about their presence all along. The brothers beg him for mercy, but to their surprise, Isaac provides them with great hospitality and care, as Jews are also a victim of discrimination. Soon, Monsieur Jourdain's henchmen arrive at Isaac's home in search of the 2 brothers, but before they could get caught, Regis and Joel bid Isaac farewell and flee through the back door. They make their way to the shoreline, where they take an abandoned boat and set out into the ocean. Ironically, they cross paths with a ship that is used to transport slaves to auctions, and are caught and imprisoned. At last, the Gros de Cire brothers end up in the same slave market, where they are bought by Jourdain's henchmen. Fortunately, on the way back to the plantation, the brothers are saved by an African tribe who call themselves the Maroons. Here, it is revealed that the people of the tribe were all slaves once, before they fled from their owners. The 2 are welcomed into the tribe, and they began to chant with the tribe leader. However, Regis, who himself is married to a white girl, refuses to chant when the Maroons talk about killing the whites. This enrages the tribe, and they quickly turn on the brothers. But fortunately, Regis and Joel manage to outrun the tribe and reach safety. The next day, the 2 find themselves in an unknown place, where they see their aunt, who cast a spell on them. The brothers soon realize that it was she who was responsible for sending them back in time. They plead with her to remove the spell, and mention that they will do anything for it. Initially, the old woman refuses, but when the brothers keep pleading, she gives them a hint. She tells them that the only way for them to get back to the present is to reach the plantation again and reunite their ancestors, Isidore and Rosalie. She also tells them to rectify the error without elaborating any further. She's probably referring to Joel trying to make out with his great-great-grandmother. Before disappearing, the woman leaves behind her special pipe and instructs the brothers to smoke it when they have successfully completed their mission. As the 2 are brainstorming ways to tackle the situation, Joel suddenly remembers seeing what seemed like Isidore having oral intercourse with another man. He also recorded a video of the incident on his phone and shows it to Regis. Questionable move, Joel. The 2 brothers then become convinced convinced that Isidore is homosexual, and they mistakenly believe that this is the error that they are supposed to fix. In the next scene, Joel and Regis return back to the plantation. They try to negotiate with Monsieur Jourdain on their punishment, but it doesn't work out for them. Instead, they get branded with a sigil of the plantation. They then return to their huts and begin to plan their course of action. Meanwhile, inside the mansion, the Whites are celebrating the wedding party of Monsieur Jourdain's daughter. Taking this as the perfect distraction, the brothers organize a party of their own for the slaves. They secretly steal a barrel of rum from the distillery to intoxicate and to activate the romance between Isidore and Rosalie. However, their plan hits a roadblock when Regis spots Joel making out with Rosalie due to his infatuation with her. Afterwards, the two brothers improvise and physically help the couple have intercourse as they're asleep. What? Once this is done, they're convinced that their mission there is accomplished. Believing that they can go home whenever they like, the brothers decide to take revenge on the Whites. They then make their way into the mansion, armed, where they humiliate everyone. Joel kisses the daughter of Monsieur Jourdain, whereas Regis starts damaging furniture and even slaps a white man. All of a sudden, Henri barges into the room with a gun and threatens the brothers. Still, Regis and Joel show no sign of fear and proceed to use the pipe. Unfortunately, when they smoke it, nothing happens. It appears as if the magical pipe given by the old lady was replaced with an ordinary one. As a result of their deeds, they are locked in a cage and are condemned to execution the next day. That night, the brothers get emotional and start contemplating their life choices. Regis talks about his failing marriage, while Joel confesses that he is broke and jobless. After a few hours, as the brothers are still sympathizing with each other, Henri arrives and takes them out to the field where they are supposed to be hanged. However, right before the execution, Monsieur Jourdain's son, Victor, runs off into the forest as he cannot bear watching the sight. Rosalie chases after him and soon finds out that he has fallen into the nearby river. All members of the family panic and run to the scene. However, Isidore takes advantage of the uproar and saves the brothers, knocking out Henri in the process. He then orders them to run for their lives, to which they oblige. As the brothers flee, they come across Victor, who is being swept by the stream. Without a second thought, the two jump into the dangerous river, but to Regis's surprise, Joel cannot swim. This makes his task even more difficult, but somehow, he manages to save both his brother and Victor. Grateful to the brothers for saving his son's life, Monsieur Jourdain sets them free. The half-brothers are also awarded with the very same document of emancipation that they were provided with by their late father. However, instead of accepting the freedom and the award, they request Monsieur Jourdain to free Isidore and Rosalie and present them with the document. The Monsieur finds the request very strange, but nonetheless, he obliges. In this way, the brothers have managed to free Isidore and Rosalie, but they still don't know where to find the magical pipe, which will help them return back to the modern age. With days passing by, they slowly begin to accept that they may never return to their time. One day, Isidore and Rosalie wish the brothers farewell and leave the plantation with the papers. As the two watch them leave from afar, Henri approaches them and orders them to get back to work. He then takes out his pipe and starts smoking. When he tries to humiliate the brothers by blowing smoke in their faces, they suddenly disappear, much to the astonishment of Henri. This indicates that Henri was the one who stole the pipe from them. In the next scene, the brothers return back to the present, where they see their aunt beside them. When they see her holding the original document in her hand, Regis and Joel become relieved. Several months pass by. Joel finds a regular job on a construction site, where he still complains about his minimum wage, and that it has to do with him being black. Meanwhile, Regis returns to his work at the town hall. One day, as he is about to leave his office, he greets the mayor, who passes a racist joke. Regis, being no longer the person he once was, decides to stand up to the mayor before storming off. The scene then cuts to Regis and his wife, along with Joel and his mother, chatting in Regis's living room. The two agree that the adventure they had brought them closer as a family, but an argument between their respective daughters leads to the tearing of the document of emancipation. The movie ends as the two brothers run towards their daughters in panic. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.
Hello guys, today we'll be covering episode 6 of the American anthology horror TV series called American Horror Stories, Season 2. Virginia Mallow, a woman in her late middle age, wakes up to her alarm when she takes a beaker and collects her urine in it. She then applies that urine on her face to reduce wrinkles, as she wishes to look younger. With her growing age, her wrinkles take away her confidence to face others, as well as herself in the mirror. Virginia is a widow who's living with her daughter, Faye, who's a woman in her late 30s, pursuing her law degree. Although Faye is Virginia's stepdaughter, she treats her as her own daughter and vice versa. In the next scene, Faye is trying to convince her mother to feel confident with her aging face, but Virginia does not seem to share her thoughts. Moments later, Virginia is seen gazing at a man named Bernie, a handsome man of similar age, on whom she has a huge crush. While she's staring at him through the window, Faye tells her that Bernie's getting divorced from his wife. Somewhere down the line, Virginia's happy to know about his divorce, but she doesn't dare to walk up to him and talk to him. One afternoon, Virginia meets Bernie at a department store where he's shopping with a beautiful woman named Cassie. There, Virginia openly tells how beautiful Cassie is and even mentions that she's jealous of her. She then asks Cassie about the secret of her well-maintained beauty. In response, Cassie says that her secret lies in the hands of Dr. Enid Pearl, who carries out anti-aging procedures, and hence, she refers Virginia to the same doctor. She goes to meet Dr. Pearl, who's famous for her plastic surgery procedures. During the meeting, Virginia explains to the doctor that she's not able to face herself in the mirror. Therefore, she wishes to transform her face. After understanding Virginia's feelings, Dr. Pearl says that she does not refer to herself as a plastic surgeon, but instead, she refers to herself as a worshipper of beauty. She even shows pictures of some people whom she treated and transformed into beautiful individuals. Therefore, she assures her that her procedure will nourish the true beauty hiding inside anyone. Virginia seems to be impressed by those pictures and wishes to undergo the procedure. However, Virginia is having difficulty arranging the huge amount required for the surgery. When she reaches home, she talks to her business manager to arrange the required money, but the manager strictly refuses her to do so. Furthermore, he says that their family is already in a lot of debt and they can't afford more of it. Despite her manager's suggestions, Virginia is reluctant and goes to Dr. Pearl to get the procedure done. But during the surgery, the team of doctors is seen chanting some strange mantras to make matters a little weirder. The night after the surgery, when Faye returns home searching for her mother, she's scared at Virginia's appearance. She has white bandages all over her face and hands, which makes it scarier. That night, it's thundering and raining outside, while Virginia is crying in pain in her room. To help her with the pain, Faye takes care of her mother by giving her the prescribed painkillers, but she makes it clear that she's disappointed with her mother's decision to undergo the procedure. During the argument, Virginia states that Faye is her stepdaughter and reminds her to stay in her lane, which deeply hurts her feelings. Therefore, Faye leaves her mother alone with her painkillers. Immediately, Virginia realizes her mistake and begs Faye to stay near her, but Faye leaves in anger. Later that night, Virginia suffers from tremendous pain, and she's haunted by the vision of demons and the sounds of the same mantras that were chanted during her surgery. At that moment, when she tries to take the painkillers on her own, she spills the tablets from the bottle and feels helpless. She once again tries to take the pills while being disturbed by the haunted visions, but she ends up falling on the floor. Just at that moment, Faye comes back, and when she sees the miserable state of her mother, she tends to her care. In the morning, Virginia asks Faye why she changed her mind to come back to take care of her. In response, Faye simply says that Virginia never treated her as a stepdaughter and always took good care of her. So, even though they had a heated exchange, Faye returned to take care of Virginia without making any judgments. Later, Virginia meets Dr. Pearl for dressing the bandages. There, the doctor convinces her to move the procedure to another place where her people will take better care of her. She further adds that the new place will have far more experienced healthcare professionals. Dr. Pearl even influences Virginia against her daughter and tells her to keep the location of this new place a secret. Virginia is extremely grateful to Dr. Pearl, so she does not tell her daughter anything about the place, and eventually she moves in with the doctor. Upon arriving at the place, the people there greet her and she feels very respected and welcomed. But she's also a little awkward since she's the only one wearing those ugly bandages, while all the others are beautiful. However, Dr. Pearl says that she does not need to feel ugly because everyone around there went through the same procedure and they all know about it. After that, she takes Virginia for the dressing. When they're alone, she asks Virginia to let her open the bandages and reveal a new face in front of everyone that evening. At first, Virginia is reluctant, But then, because of the insistence of Dr. Pearl, she finally agrees to do so. In the meantime, we see Faye wandering around the place in search of her mother. She manages to reach Dr. Pearl's private lodge by hiding in the same car as Virginia. All of a sudden, someone grabs her from the back and makes her unconscious by suffocating her using chloroform. On the other hand, people have gathered on the ground as Dr. Pearl announces that Virginia's bandages will be taken out shortly. Next, she invites Virginia on stage. But before the procedure, 2 security guards bring up Faye in front of her mother. She warns Virginia that something's not right and that she should not stay here any longer. However, Virginia disagrees with Faye, and instead, she tells the people around her that Faye's not even her real daughter. After that, Faye's taken down by the security guards, and they continue their ceremony. When the doctor removes the bandages from her face, it's revealed that Pearl has given her an even more disfigured and piggish face. It turns out that in reality, Pearl and her staff are part of a cult that worships beauty, and Virginia is to be their annual sacrifice to the deity Etain. Shortly after, they release Virginia onto the grounds of the lodge as she attempts to escape from there. The people who belong to the cult start following her, and soon enough, she's trapped and eventually hunted down. It's then revealed that Bernie and Cassie are also members of the cult, and they end up killing her as a sacrifice. In the meantime, Faye is brought to the dead body of her mother as she cries in grief. Pearl then tells the distraught Faye that her birth mother was one of Etain's followers. Later, a more confident Faye returns to the university with the cult's signature butterfly tattoo on her wrist. There, a young man who's also a member of the cult asks her about the tattoo, and they start talking. As the two form a friendship, they start walking together toward their destination, and the episode comes to an end. Hello guys, today we'll be covering episode 6 of the American Anthology. Hello guys, today we'll be covering episode 6 of the American Anthology. Hello guys, today we'll be covering episode 6.
When Nora and Alec decide to stay in a dubious cabin, they find themselves captives in a cult-like community that treats them like farm animals. As couples Nora and Alec drive to the countryside, they find themselves on an unfamiliar route. Nora knows they're lost, and she grows irritated by the minute. Not long after, When Nora and Alec decide to stay in a dubious cabin, they find themselves captives in a cult-like community that treats them like farm animals. As couples Nora...
Set in the year 1950, the story is about a utopian town called Victory. This small town is surrounded by desert on all sides. Several hundred residents live here, all of whom are extremely wealthy and live a posh lifestyle. All male residents living in the town are taking part in a mysterious project. The Victory headquarters is situated at the top of a mountain in the middle of the desert. However, women are strictly forbidden to venture into the desert. Legend says that if one ends up there, they will never return the same. The women are expected to just be concerned with their own houses and their lives, and to not question what their husbands do for a living. They are only told that their husbands are involved in the development of progressive material. While the husbands spend all of their time at the Victory Project headquarters, the wives get to spend their time enjoying the beauty, luxury, and debauchery of their community. The founder of this whole place and project is Frank. Everyone regards him as a hero. The whole town is regularly blasted with Frank's inspiring speeches through speakers, where he promises to create something great. One day, the neighborhood is organizing a house party. The attendees include our protagonist Alice and her husband Jack, among other neighbors who all seem to be really close to one another. While the men keep talking about how they are all really lucky to be part of the Victory Project, all the women seem to indulge in internal gossip or playing drinking games. The following morning, we see Alice cook breakfast for Jack as he gets ready and heads out for work at the exact same time as the other men. All of them get into their respective cars as the wives bid them goodbye. The wives then engage in a sort of routine that includes cleaning every speck of dust in the house and cooking a 3-course lavish meal for their husbands. Occasionally, they enjoy themselves by gathering at the community house or by sharpening their ballet skills under the guidance of Shelley. She is a sort of rigid woman who seems to be hell-bent on making sure that these women follow the rules and regulations set by her husband and founder of this utopia, Frank. Everything seems perfect in this utopian town, but the controlled bubble of this utopia gets its first trigger when Frank organizes a party to welcome the newest members of the community, Bill and Violet. Everyone is present there, and like always, all the men and women seem to be in complete awe of what Frank is doing with Victory Town. However, before he can proceed any further, a woman named Margaret steps forward. She looks visibly anxious and disturbed, but still finds the courage to ask the question that all of them have been dreading to ask. What are we doing here? This shocks all the attendees, including Margaret's husband, as no one has ever questioned Frank before. Nonetheless, Frank delivers yet another inspiring speech and wows the audience, prompting everyone to forget about Margaret. After the speech, Alice goes looking for her husband Jack, but she unexpectedly witnesses Margaret's husband trying to force-feed her some pills that the town physician Dr. Collins has prescribed her. However, everyone knows that Margaret is ill, so she doesn't pay much attention and leaves. The next day, as all the women, including Alice, are chatting in the community center, the topic of Margaret is again brought up. The chatterbox of the group, Bunny, reveals that Margaret became mentally ill because she failed to follow the one rule set by Frank, to not venture into the desert. Through flashbacks, we are shown that Margaret lost her son when she was in the desert, and that trauma has set her into a complete state of disfigurement. Alice, who is listening to all of this, appears to be worried. That night, Alice has nightmares where she witnesses unusual ballet dancers in black and white. The next day, another weird thing happens. As Alice is preparing a meal, she finds that the eggs are completely empty in the inside. Hence, after Jack leaves for work, she takes a lorry ride to clear her mind. All the women get off at the mall, but Alice decides to continue going. However, when she's about to reach the end of the line, she witnesses a red plane losing its balance over the desert's skyline. Panicked, Alice asks the lorry driver to take her to the crash site, but the latter completely freezes and tells her that he's not allowed to. This is because the plane has crashed in the middle of the forbidden desert. But, in spite of all the warnings, Alice decides to go on her own, as she is adamant on saving the survivors. After walking for a while, she eventually reaches the desert, which is barren and empty as expected. Alice does not find the plane or any wreckage, but what she finds is a large mountain, which leads her to a building. This building is none other than the Victory Town headquarters itself, the place where all the husbands apparently go to work. Trying to get help, Alice aligns her face to the building's glass opening, and the next thing we know, she is back at home, waking up from a nightmare that had similar images to her previous hallucination. Alice is obviously shocked and confused by the incident, but she decides to hide it from Jack. Unfortunately, over the course of the next few days, her waking nightmares keep getting worse. Most of the time, she keeps hallucinating about the ballet dancers, and in one instance, she feels like she's being crushed by the walls of her own house. But one day, everything changes. She witnesses a depressed Margaret committing the unthinkable. Alice rushes to save her, but a bunch of men dressed in red suddenly appear and drag her away. That night, she explains the entire incident to her husband Jack, but surprisingly, he reveals that Margaret is alive and well. She never committed the unthinkable, and had just slipped in the bathroom. Alice, who's in complete disbelief, doesn't listen to him and tries to look for answers, but Jack calms her down and asks her to take some rest. Unfortunately for Alice, her hallucinations continue getting worse, so the town physician Dr. Collins is summoned to their house one day. He conducts some tests on her and prescribes her some pills, claiming that she is just stressed out. However, Alice asserts that she is fine and continues asking about Margaret. When she starts becoming rude, Dr. Collins reveals that Margaret is fine, but her husband was fired from his job because of her actions, and now they have been moved from the town. Hearing this, Alice keeps silent for Jack's sake. Just then, she notices a file in Dr. Collins' suitcase that has Margaret's name on it. Alice covertly steals it while the doctor is away and later goes through it. To her dismay, most of it has been blacked out. The only thing she can find is details about Margaret's deteriorating mental health. The next day, Jack approaches her and gives her a dress. He asks her to wear it immediately, as the head of the town, Frank, has invited them to a special event. Despite not feeling 100%, Alice obliges, as she has no other choice. At the event, however, she again begins hallucinating and goes into a mental breakdown. Having had enough, she pleads with her husband to return home, but just then, Frank calls him on stage, seemingly to to make an announcement. As Alice watches on nervously, Frank praises Jack as the ideal employee and promotes him to the executive position. The crowd erupts in cheers, and Jack starts screaming with joy, but a confused and distraught Alice rushes to the bathroom, where she breaks down in tears. On stage, Frank asks Jack to dance, because Harry Styles can't act, so this is all he's good for. And like a puppet, he obliges. It almost feels like it's a direct metaphor for how all the strings in Victory Town are attached to Frank's hands, and he is just puppeteering them all through. Meanwhile, the chatterbox Bunny approaches Alice in the bathroom, but instead of trying to help her, she tries to put some sense into her. She tells Alice to stop being hysterical and to support her husband on this big night. The following day, Jack organizes a promotion party at his place, and Alice is tasked with the cooking. She seems surprisingly calm for a person who was disoriented just the other day. However, it all appears to be part of her mastermind plan. Soon, all the residents of the neighborhood arrive, along with special guest Frank and his wife Shelley. After a while, as Alice is in the kitchen, Frank approaches her and says, "I'm sorry Bunny didn't believe you." He then commends Alice on her presence of mind and challenges her to find out more about the place. This finally confirms that Alice is not crazy, and whatever she is hallucinating has something to do with this weird town. Hence, at dinner, a fed-up Alice decides to take center stage. She confronts all the men about the town's need for perfection and wonders why the women cannot venture into the desert. As Jack and the others listen in disbelief, Alice draws out a few peculiar similarities between how all of them landed in Victory Town and how their life before it was a complete blur. Strangely, all the residents are either from Baltimore or from Chicago. All of the couples met at the same train station in the same manner, and all of them had their honeymoons in the same venue. Alice continues that all the food products in Victory Town, ranging from vegetables to packaged food, are manufactured under the name of Frank. But despite all this, no one bats an eye that something is clearly wrong. Unfortunately, her claims are proven correct, as all the other diners simply think that whatever she is saying is a hysterical outburst. When everyone leaves, Alice, having shattered Jack's reputation, tells him that there's something really wrong with Victory Town and that they should leave immediately. And despite being completely embarrassed in front of the others, Jack agrees to whatever Alice says, claiming that he will love her no matter what. Unfortunately, just as they are about to leave in their car, Jack starts apologizing profusely. He cannot go through with it. Alice slowly comes to terms with his betrayal, but before she can react, the same men in red from earlier arrive at the scene and forcefully take Alice away. Next, we see her receiving shock therapy. The reasons for this are not disclosed just yet, but these electroshocks are closely cut with the actual truth of who she is. We get a rundown of Alice and her husband Jack living in a modest apartment. It is the 21st century and not the 1950s. Alice appears to be a nurse who works late night shifts at the hospital because Jack has recently lost his job. One night, she returns exhausted after a 30-hour shift in which she had to oversee 3 separate surgeries. Jack tries to be romantic with her, but Alice is too tired for it. Plus, he looks greasy. This shows that the couple is slowly drifting apart because of Alice's hectic work schedule. Hence, being jobless and lonely, Jack blindly starts following the preaching videos of a personality named Frank. Frank is someone who has apparently developed a technology that allows couples to live in an extremely evolved virtual reality, a simulation of a 1950s utopia that screams perfection from the get-go. One night, Jack, who has lost all sense of control due to his fragile male ego, decides to reach out to Frank. He then learns of the Victory Project and immediately decides he wants to be a part of it. Not only that, he forces Alice into the experiments. For a brief second, we see her force plugged into the simulation's ground control, which turns out to be their bed in the real world. Soon, Jack sleeps beside her, and he too enters the world of the simulation. Following this, we are shown a montage that gives us more details about the simulation. We get to know that the entire thing doesn't have Alice's consent. It is something that Jack decides for both of them, so as to gain some kind of control over what his wife does. In the simulation, Jack chooses to have a British identity, since he's very bad at American accents. And since there's no other way to it, Alice's entire memory is wiped before she enters Victory as a citizen. We also learn later that all the men in Victory Town have voluntarily joined in to be a member, while their partners, the women, have been held captive against their will and have been uploaded into the simulation. All the kids that are visible in the town are simply NPCs. They are not real. They have been designed for the parents who couldn't have children in their real lives. After the montage ends, we see Alice, completely wiped from her recent plans to escape, returning back to her idyllic home. However, this time, the simulation and the lie don't seem seem to carry on for too long, as she gets triggered into reality again as soon as she recognizes the song that Jack is humming. It is one of her favorite songs from her real life in the 21st century, which she often used to sing while at work. Now, everything flashes in front of Alice, and she realizes that it was her husband who has been the culprit all along. Caught red-handed, Jack finally comes clean. He reveals that he did everything for their own good, as their life in the 21st century was going downhill. Jack was jobless, and Alice didn't even have time to talk to him properly. Hence, he took the tough decision and enrolled them into the Victory Project, where they have a flawless life with abundant money and respect. Jack further reveals that life for Alice is very simple. All she has to do is make friends and relax, while he has to return back to the real world and collect money to keep the simulation running. Here, it is finally revealed where all the husbands of Victory Town go. They don't work for the development of any progressive material, but they go to Victory headquarters to exit the simulation and try to earn some money in the real world to give their wives better lives. However, despite hearing all of this, Alice is still hurt that her husband betrayed her. One thing leads to another, and the two get into an argument, which ends with Alice smashing a glass over Jack's head. Sadly, the impact kills him. When out of the house, a bloodied Alice startles everyone, and specifically tells them that they are being controlled by a program that Frank has created. All of the residents try to stop her, except Bunny. This is where we come to learn that out of all the women, only Bunny is aware of the truth behind Victory. It turns out that she agreed to sign up for it, because in the real world, her children died. Bunny tells Alice to run away, explaining that if someone dies in the simulation, they will also die in the real world. And now that the men in red are coming for her, Alice has very little time. Hearing this, a frightened Alice immediately gets in her car and drives off to the one place from which she can escape, the Victory Town headquarters. On her way, she is met by Frank's henchmen. The men in red have been tasked to capture Alice, or possibly to kill her, consequently stopping her real-life body from ever waking up. This step is taken because Alice never signed up for the project, and if she wakes up and reports to the authorities about it, Frank's empire will be doomed. Somehow, she evades the thugs and reaches the mountain. However, midway, her car breaks down, so she is forced to flee on foot, while the men in red follow her closely. Elsewhere, as Frank is following the entire development via call, his wife Shelley surprisingly stabs him in the chest and kills him. Before she departs, she simply says, "It's my turn now, bitch." Meanwhile, Alice reaches the top of the mountain, but just when she is about to approach the window of the headquarters, she has one of her visions where she sees Jack, asking her to stay in Victory and be with him. However, free from control, and having developed a conscience of her own, Alice ignores him and eventually touches the glass of the headquarters window. For a second, the screen fades to black, and before the film ends, we briefly hear a woman gasping for air, signifying that Alice has teleported back to the real world. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel.
Damn, bro, that shit fucking crazy. Damn, dude. Okay, bro, I'm gonna get off live right now. I'll see y'all in the next live stream or YouTube videos. Actually, I'm gonna try to drop the videos tonight, or not tonight, tomorrow. So, yeah. We'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out, the motherfuckers. Woo!